Some days begin like any other, until one quiet act of kindness costs you everything and unexpectedly brings back more than you ever imagined. Sarah Turner, a humble receptionist, stopped to help a crying child outside her office. What followed? A cruel firing, a hopeless week, and a knock on her door that would change her fate forever. What Sarah didn't know that day was that love, compassion, and the courage to do what's right can echo louder than injustice. Welcome to Storytelling and Beyond, your space for emotional, motivational journeys drawn from the heart. Don't forget to subscribe and experience stories that stay with you. The day started like most others. Sarah pulled her faded coat tighter around her shoulders as the chill of morning wrapped the city in a dull gray hue. She clutched her coffee, boots splashing through puddles as she made her way to the tall glass building that housed her job. A small receptionist desk on the 15th floor of a marketing firm where nobody really knew her name. She wasn't late, not technically, but she knew better than to arrive 1 minute past the hour. Ms. Golding, the floor supervisor, was always watching with a scowl. Sarah gave her the same tired smile every morning. It was never returned. Her shift was quiet. Phones rang. She transferred calls. Emails popped up. She handled them. But her thoughts kept drifting to her father, aging and unwell, who had forgotten to take his pills again. Money was tight, but she never showed that at work. She couldn't afford to. Around noon, Sarah stepped outside for her 10-minute break. That's when she saw him. A boy, maybe 7, huddled by the concrete planter at the corner of the building. Soaked from the drizzle, his tiny frame shivered. His face was blotchy from tears, and his arms clutched a worn backpack like it was the only safe thing he had left. People walked past him. Some glanced, most didn't. Everyone had somewhere to be. Sarah, too, she knew better than to take a long break. But something in her couldn't walk away. She knelt beside him gently. "Hey there, sweetheart. Are you lost?" The boy looked up with red-rimmed eyes. "My aunt, she went into that building, but she didn't come back." He pointed to the clinic across the street. Sarah's heart squeezed. "What's your name?" "Liam." She took off her scarf and wrapped it around him. "I'm Sarah. I'll stay with you, okay? We'll find her." Minutes turned to nearly an hour. Sarah used her phone to call the clinic. Eventually, they discovered that Liam's aunt had collapsed inside the waiting room. Diabetic shock. She was awake now, frightened to death about her nephew. As they reunited with tears and gratitude, the woman hugged Sarah. "I don't know how to thank you." Sarah just smiled. "He's safe. That's all that matters." She glanced at her watch. 47 minutes past her break. Her stomach twisted. She rushed back inside, hoping to explain, hoping someone would understand. But understanding wasn't something Ms. Golding practiced. As Sarah slipped behind her desk, the woman was already storming toward her, heels echoing across the polished floor. "Nice of you to join us," she said coldly. "I'm so sorry. There was a little boy outside, he was lost, his aunt collapsed." Golding raised a hand. "Spare me the drama. You abandoned your station. You made this company vulnerable." Sarah tried to hold her ground. He was 7. He was alone in the rain. "You're not paid to play hero. Pack your things." Just like that. No warning. No write-up. Just a termination notice printed and waiting on the desk. The entire floor had gone quiet. Sarah looked around, but no one met her gaze. Not the junior designer she always brought coffee to. Not the accountant she covered for last week. No one. She swallowed hard, gathered her few belongings, and walked toward the elevator. One kind act. One choice. And everything was gone. But life had a strange way of returning what's lost and multiplying it in ways you never expect. Sarah sat at the small kitchen table in her apartment, her chin resting in her hand. The coffee in her mug had gone cold hours ago, untouched. Rain tapped rhythmically against the windowpane, as if mocking the quiet stillness that had taken over her world. Since losing her job 3 days ago, time had become a blur. The bills on the counter stared back at her like silent accusations. Her rent was due in 2 weeks. Her father needed his medications refilled. And the savings she had left could barely last the month. The air inside felt heavier than the storm clouds outside. She'd applied to 3 jobs that morning. Entry-level, minimum wage, overqualified. She didn't care. Pride wasn't a luxury she could afford. Her phone buzzed. A text from her landlord, just a reminder. Rent's due 12th. No delays this month. She sighed. Thanks for the warmth, she muttered. Just as she stood to pour her untouched coffee down the drain, a soft knock echoed from the door. Not urgent. Not impatient. Just hesitant. Curious, she opened it. A boy stood there. Liam. Her heart skipped. Liam, she said, confused and concerned. What are you doing here? Behind him stepped his aunt, the woman from the clinic, now in dry clothes, eyes warm with gratitude. She spoke gently. I hope this isn't too forward, but I had to find you. Sarah invited them in, still reeling from surprise. Liam smiled shyly and offered her a small paper bag. Inside was a handwritten card and a drawing, a bright sun, a stick figure Sarah, and a boy holding her hand under a rainy sky. The aunt sat across from her. Sarah. I didn't just want to say thank you. I needed to. Sarah smiled faintly. It was nothing. Anyone would have done the same. No, the woman replied firmly. Not anyone. Most walked past. You stopped. You stayed. The woman looked down at her hands, nervous. I told someone about you. Sarah raised an eyebrow, unsure what that meant. My late husband, he worked with a foundation. Before he passed, he helped create a group of successful entrepreneurs, people from different industries who came from hardship and promised to pay kindness forward. Sarah listened, intrigued but uncertain where it was going. I reached out to them. Told them about you. Your story. What you did for my nephew. And they were moved. Sarah's brows furrowed slightly. Moved? The woman nodded, smiling now. They want to meet you. Actually, they want to help you. Sarah blinked. Help, how? Just then, Liam reached into his jacket and handed her another envelope, a thick, sealed one with an embossed crest. Inside was a letter on fine stationery and a prepaid phone. Expect a call tomorrow, the woman said. A few of them want to come by. They don't want publicity. Just to show you that what you did mattered. Sarah sat in stunned silence. For a moment, she wondered if this was some kind of prank. I don't understand, she whispered. Why would millionaires want to help me? I'm no one. The woman reached out and gently held her hand. Because to a child in distress, you were someone. And that matters. Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes. Not because she was saved. But because, for the first time in days, she felt seen. As they left, Sarah looked down at the drawing again, that small sun peeking through a storm. And for the first time since losing her job, she allowed herself to believe something might be waiting just around the corner. Something she never asked for, but perhaps something she truly deserved. The next morning, Sarah awoke earlier than usual, the prepaid phone already clutched in her hand. She'd barely slept. Her mind had played every possible scenario, some hopeful, most anxious. Had she misunderstood? Was it just a kind gesture with no real follow-up? Then, at exactly 9:00 a.m., the phone rang. Her breath caught as she answered. Ms. Davis, a calm male voice said. This is Mason Locke. I'm calling on behalf of the Guardian Collective. We heard about your story. The Guardian. Sarah echoed, still groggy with disbelief. Yes, Mason continued gently. We're a group of entrepreneurs, philanthropists, and former recipients of kindness.
Someone from our circle shared what you did for Liam. She swallowed. I didn't do much.
You showed humanity when others turned away, he said.
And we believe people like you deserve support to keep being who they are. Could we stop by today?
Still unsure how this was real, Sarah agreed. He said there would be a few of them, no cameras, no press, just conversation. By noon, her small apartment was spotless. Nervous energy made her clean every surface twice. Her dad, unaware of the full story, smiled as she fussed over his tea. At 1 p.m. sharp, there was a knock. When Sarah opened the door, she was met by 5 well-dressed individuals, each carrying warmth in their expressions rather than arrogance. Mason stepped forward, tall, early 40s, composed.
May we come in? Sarah nodded, still stunned.
They introduced themselves one by one: a software company CEO, a retired fashion mogul, a philanthropist chef, a woman who once lived in her car and now ran a chain of wellness centers, and Mason, a tech investor who was orphaned young and raised by a single mother. They sat, shared coffee, and asked about Sarah's life, not just about the incident, but about her dreams. I used to want to open a daycare, she admitted, voice soft.
For low-income moms.
A place where no one would ever be told to feed their baby in a washroom.
Mason's eyes lit up. Why did you stop pursuing that? Sarah gave a tired smile. Life.
Bills.
Survival.
The woman beside him, Lorraine, the wellness center owner, leaned forward.
But what if you didn't have to choose between survival and purpose?
Sarah looked up, confused.
Lorraine exchanged a glance with the others.
Then Mason spoke.
Sarah, we want to fund your dream. We'll provide mentorship, resources, a startup fund. You won't owe us a cent. Just pay it forward when you're able. Sarah froze. You're offering me money?
We're offering you belief, Lorraine said.
In what the world can become when people like you are empowered. Sarah's hands trembled.
She stared at them, these strangers who had no reason to care yet had come, offering not charity, but a second chance.
But, why me? Mason smiled. Because someone helped each of us once, just like you helped Liam.
You planted a seed without knowing. We're just here to help it grow.
Tears rolled down Sarah's cheeks.
As they left, Mason handed her a leather-bound folder. Inside were blueprints for a small daycare unit, cost estimates, a 3-month mentorship calendar, and a welcome letter from the Guardian Collective. When the door closed behind them, Sarah crumpled into her sofa and sobbed, not from pain, but from the sheer, overwhelming beauty of being seen, valued, chosen. And for the first time in a very long time, the future didn't just look possible, it looked bright. 2 weeks later, the corner building that once stood abandoned at the edge of Maple and 3rd was now buzzing with life. Freshly painted in warm pastels with hand-drawn flowers on the walls, the sign outside read, Little Lights Daycare, a safe place to shine.
Inside, laughter echoed. Crayons rolled across playmats. A toddler giggled as bubbles floated past his chubby cheeks. And at the center of it all stood Sarah, no longer just a fired retail worker, but now the founder and director of something beautiful. She wore a simple but bright blouse, her hair loosely tied back. Confidence replaced the uncertainty that once shadowed her steps. Parents from all over the community were signing up. Word had spread quickly, and it wasn't just about the affordable fees or the clean space. It was about the story. Mothers whispered to each other, this place was born from a mother's tears and courage. Fathers shook Sarah's hand, thanking her for giving their children a safe space. A young woman even asked if she could volunteer. I want to do something that matters, she said. Every day, Sarah remembered the boy in the rain, Liam, and the moment she chose kindness over fear. She kept a tiny sketch he had drawn for her in a frame behind her desk, a woman holding an umbrella over a little boy. In shaky letters, he had written, "You're my superhero." Her father, now stronger and more mobile, sat in the lobby often, greeting visitors with pride in his eyes. "That's my daughter," he would say, a tremble in his voice, "she built this from nothing." But the greatest surprise came a month after the daycare opened. One quiet afternoon, a sleek black car pulled up. Sarah was helping a little girl wash her hands when the office door swung open. It was Mason Locke. And he wasn't alone. Behind him stood 16 others, members of the Guardian Collective who had heard not just about Sarah's progress, but the ripple effect it had created. A teacher who wanted to offer literacy sessions. A nutritionist offering meal plans. A carpenter who wanted to build child-sized furniture for free. Mason grinned. "Looks like your light is catching, Sarah." The group handed her a certificate, not of completion, but of inspiration. "You reminded the world," Lorraine said, her voice breaking, "that kindness is not weakness. It's the seed of change." Sarah stood in the center of her daycare, surrounded by children, parents, strangers turned family, and her own tears, feeling more powerful than she ever had in her life. Because in a world that tried to punish her for compassion, she had dared to believe in something better. And the world had answered. For more powerful and heart-touching stories, subscribe now to Storytelling and Beyond, where every story matters, and every voice is heard.